Hey guys, Comic Boom here to review Infinity Wars #1. I'll get right to the chase, guys. I was surprised with Infinity Wars #1. I was actually quite intrigued with it. It actually made me pick up Infinity Wars Prime. And it was pretty cool because a certain Thanos meets his untimely demise at the hands of what is revealed to be, surprise, surprise, a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy. So yeah, there's going to be spoilers here in this review. The thing is about Infinity Wars, it's related to Infinity Wars Countdown, which was 5 issues before this, along with, I think it was a total of 16 issues or 11 crossovers, plus 5 main series part of the Infinity Countdown from Prime all the way to Infinity Countdown #5. And then that leads into Infinity Wars. Infinity War Prime came out, then now it's Infinity Wars. The whole story seems infinite. Is this ever going to end? This is it's convoluted. It's a little bit, it can be a little bit hard to sort of jump onto. I did pick up Infinity, just a little bit of background. Like months ago, back I think in February, I picked up Infinity Countdown Prime, and there was also an Infinity Countdown Adam Warlock, and it gave some background, and it explained the history of all the Infinity Gauntlet and the gems on the Infinity Gauntlet. And in fact, I got this here. This here, you've seen this. Most of you who've been to comic book shops have probably seen this at your comic book shop. This is of course, the Fist of Thanos with all the Infinity Gems on it. And yeah, so this is what the fight's all about. Now, obviously, with the success of the movie, with the success of the Avengers movie with Thanos, and it's a $1 billion movie, they obviously want to capitalize on the success of the movie. So they're coming out with Infinity Wars. And yeah, now I gotta tell you, this character is called Requiem, and Requiem she's now this woman is now the main star. She basically shows up and she chops off the head of, spoiler warning, she chops off the head of Thanos. So Thanos isn't, I was going to say, I should have bought Thanos' head at the comic shop, but I just got his fist. In any event, Thanos is now dead, and Gamora wants to get all the Soul Stones, and her agenda appears to be she wants to go back into the Soul Gem, because a portion of Gamora is trapped in the Soul Gem. Now, I don't really know exactly how a portion of Gamora got trapped in the Soul Gem, but apparently at some time in the past she had some interaction with somebody, maybe Thanos, I don't know, and a portion of herself got trapped in the Soul Gem, and she wants to get it back. Now, I think they're called Infinity Stones here, and there's always an interesting little tidbit on these stones. Yeah, they call them stones now instead of gems. Why? I've got no idea. Apparently, I'm not a Marvel zombie here, but apparently after the events, it's a long convoluted history, but after the events of the Infinity Gauntlet, where Thanos was ultimately defeated, apparently the stones, through a multiple series of events following that, ended up being scattered across the... They just sort of disappeared, and they were destroyed, and then they came back, and then they were rendered non-conductive, meaning that when they were all together, they didn't wield any power. And then, of course, they became conductive again, so that when they're all put together, they're powerful again. And now suddenly we don't have gems anymore. Now they're all stones, and it really I find it. I'm still a little bit confused. They have this explanation at the beginning of Infinity Wars, and stuff like that says that, for example, there's the Power Stone, Space Stone, Time Stone, Reality Stone, Soul Stone, and Mind Stone. And the Mind Stone, for example, is powered by a person's mastery of soul, and then the Soul Stones is powered by a person's mastery of reality. And then the Reality Stones is powered by the person's mastery of time. I don't really get that. I would have thought the Time Stone would have been mastered by a person who masters time. I would have thought a Soul Stone would be somebody who's capable of mastering the soul. I don't really get that. So even the explanation doesn't make a lot of sense. Maybe some of you guys can help me out. I know that it's all a circuit, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So even on at the explanation page here, I don't find it particularly helpful. I actually find it a little bit more confusing. So it's almost, I guess you don't really need to know it though. This explanation, I think, actually makes things worse. It's only helpful because you know that Doctor Strange owns the Space Stone, or pardon me, he owns the Time Stone, and that's Doctor Strange got a hold of the Time Stone in Doctor Strange issue number 3. I happened to read that because I read Doctor Strange number 3. What's interesting is that Marvel, in their typical screw-up on these events, Doctor Strange number 3 wasn't even part of the crossover events mentioned in Infinity Prime. So it's another example of Marvel just dropping the ball on organizing their events. But I will say this: having read Infinity Wars Prime leading into this issue, and this one ending with Thanos' heads being cut off, and now this Requiem being revealed to be Gamora with an agenda to go get all the stones and somehow get into the Soul Stone to get a portion of her soul back. It's interesting. There's also there's a subplots going on here, something to do with Loki. Loki is, I don't know, he's on some quest at the quarry of creation. So apparently there's this library, Universal Library, that has a bunch of Universal secrets that's located on Asgard. Well, Asgard was recently in the pages of Thor pretty much mostly destroyed by the Mangog. And in any event, fortunately, Freyja, the mother of Loki and Thor, and wife of Odin, made duplicates of a lot of the books that were otherwise would have been destroyed. And apparently Loki's ends up a loser in all of them. Loki's reading about his past and reading about his fate, and I guess it always turns out pretty bad for Loki, and somehow that's related to this story. And so again, I don't know what that has to do with the larger narrative, but it's kind of interesting. He meets a different version of himself that's wielding a hammer as well as wielding the different stones. And apparently each individual universe and each individual reality in the Marvel universe. So we have, like, you got the 616 universe. Earth 616 is the mainstream Marvel universe that we read about in the Marvel comics. And there's other universes where the Marvel universes are in place, sort of like the DC universe with Earth 1 or 2 or 3. In the Marvel universe, because Marvel likes to make things more complicated, they've got the Marvel 616 and they got all these strange numbers for it. And even though the Secret Wars was supposed to destroy all the Marvel universes and make them all one, apparently now there's still a whole bunch of different incarnations in the Marvel universe. And apparently each individual universe has their own reality, has their own Infinity Gauntlet stones or Infinity Stones, but they only work in they can't work in different realities. They can only work in their one reality. And he meets up with Loki, and his alternate Loki ends up getting killed by, it looks like, this Soul Eater. So the only thing I can guess here is that Gamora, who now has become Requiem, who's killed Thanos, is trying to get all the Infinity Stones away from all the various people who have one, because Doctor Strange, along with Tony Stark, etc., they have an Infinity Watch, and an Infinity Watch is a group of people who are taking care of the stones to keep them out of the hand, so that nobody puts all the stones together and creates another Infinity Gauntlet to try to take over the universe. But Gamora, as Requiem, she wants all the stones so she can get her soul back. But apparently there's something in the Soul Stone that is a Soul Eater, and it's very dangerous, and nobody really knows what it does. Doctor Strange knows something is there. Doctor Strange saved Adam Warlock from being killed. Actually, Adam Warlock was killed, but he used the Time Stone to reverse time and save Adam Warlock from being killed by this Soul Eater that's in the Soul Stone that probably wants to escape. And probably the only way that this Soul Eater can escape is if somebody wields all the stones together, which is exactly what nobody wants to happen, but of course Requiem is going to probably like to try to make happen. So it's going to be interesting to how all this plays out. This ends in a very gut-wrenching manner. So it ends with Gamora as Requiem stabbing Starlord, killing Starlord with a sword that's powered by the Power Stone. Now, what I find interesting about this picture is that It's this is a sword that's powered by the stone, and I always get a kick when they do somebody being stabbed like that. But trust me, if your sword is strong enough to go through your body, it's gonna rip the shirt that you're wearing. It's not gonna push, like, is he wearing an indestructible shirt? That doesn't make any sense to me. That's about as stupid as it was when Frank Miller drew it back in the classic the Bullseye days, reminiscent of Bullseye killing Elektra back in the day. But it didn't make sense then, and it doesn't make sense now. But there you have it. But in any event, this is not bad. This is actually, it has me intrigued. One of the things that I hope doesn't happen is that if I stop collecting Infinity Countdown series, because after issue 1 it completely lost me. I found it to be just incomprehensible to me, because I couldn't understand what was going on. It was too drowned out in Guardians of the Galaxy stuff, and I just didn't understand it. This I can at least understand and sort of read between the lines. And it's well drawn. I think it's Deodato's the artist. It's well drawn. It's well worth the read. It's really great art. It's interesting. The dialogue is great. This is well written. Gary Duggan has done a good job here, but hopefully he won't derail it in such a way that had me drop the Countdown series. I'm not going to be getting any of the crossovers, so hopefully Marvel will just keep everything within this series. I think it's like six issues long. It ends by fuck me. It has a list again of a ridiculous amount of comics that you should be getting. I'm just going to be getting the main series proper, and it has a total of it goes to number 6. The last issue's out in December. There's all kinds of other crossovers that I won't be getting any of them. If I need to get any crossovers, I'll stop the main series immediately, as I did last time. Marvel has got to learn to reel themselves in. I'm reminded of the comments of Dan Didio when he was talking about, he made some offhanded comment about how he felt that the movie Infinity, the Infinity War, the movie actually did comics better than comics do comics. And he made a good point, basically saying that, the movie puts together different elements from all its separate component parts, and each individual part is a self-contained story, and yet it forms one long cohesive narrative that pays off in spectacular fashion. So far, Infinity War's Countdown has been, in my view, a failure. It's failed to do that. It's been incomprehensible to new readers like myself. It hasn't been particularly accessible. This was actually the first. This was one where I think actually works, and along with Prime, there's still some stuff they need to explain. There's some inconsistencies in the explanation of what the Infinity Stones are. It still requires some explanations, but so far it's okay. It's tolerable, but if it's going to get derailed by multiple crossovers, then I'm going to be out again, and you're going to lose a reader again. So hopefully Marvel will stick with it, and it will be something worth picking up. Because so far, I'm liking what I'm reading. But I'll drop it immediately if it doesn't stay on course and stay focused. But guys, I do recommend you pick it up because it is worth the read, just to see Requiem cut off Thanos' head and have her kill Starlord, who, let's face it, has always been an annoying character. So it's kind of good to see him dead. Unfortunately, he probably won't stay dead, and neither will Thanos. But hopefully they'll bring Thanos back, and they'll let Starlord be dead. In any event, that's my opinion. Guys, tell me what you think of Infinity Wars, and until next time, Comic Boom, out.